Hey, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, you're right now calling into me, Ring Jalen, and I am here with a Eurovision icon, a Eurovision legend. We're talking about LauraVision, who is a great YouTuber, who's here today to talk with me about the semifinals, and especially now, semifinal one in this video. Laura, how are you doing?
Hello, well, thank you for having me, and thank you for that intro, first of all, because the icon and the legend, I think, is you and not me. The fact that you called me an icon and a legend, I'm honored.
You have such a great YouTube channel, and everybody, if you haven't subscribed, there's a link at the top of the description. You have to go there right now, check it out. You talked about who's going to win the Eurovision Song Contest.
Yeah.
But now we're going to see what the final will look like, because guys, we're about to spoil the whole thing. We know who's qualifying. We've seen the rehearsals. We know what each country is thinking, or to be honest, everything will change in our opinions in like a week and a half. But is what we think will happen in the semifinals. We have agreed on a top 10 here, with 5 we're for certain about, and 5 that we were like kind of questioning. Maybe one of us was like saying absolutely, and the other was saying no, not at all. But we found 10 songs from the first semifinal that we will talk about right now, and we're starting with the song that opens up this year's Eurovision week, Albania. Their song is, you know, amazing. But Laura, why is this going to the final?
I think, like you say, you know, opening the whole thing, I think it's a really good choice that they've made to open up the whole show. I've always loved this song. Like, it's always been in my top 3, and I think it's actually my favorite Albanian entry ever, like of all time. It's just like, you know, like the dance break, the instruments, the ethnic sounds. It's just so good. One of the best like upbeat songs of the year, I think. I know you've got like Spain as well, and that's good. I think this is like up there with that, and it's definitely going through. I love it.
It's such a moment with everything happening in this song and performance. If we get like just 50% of what happened at the national final, this is for sure sailing through. I think that this will be more of a public song, but the jury will not disrespect it. It will be in the jury's top 10, and with the public, I think we can talk about, you know, it's going to be a top 5 here with the public, and also, as you said, it's going to be a contender also in the final. And so awesome to see, you know, this song when it first came out, we had 2 entries, and people were saying this could be like a winning contender, and it's still being talked about like that. So the revamp worked, everything has worked so far. So it's going to be nice to see it on that stage.
Oh, the revamp. I love the revamp. Like, I actually like the original as well, but the revamp makes it even better. So I like both versions. So they've done a great job. And to see it live as well, you know, it's just going to be like fire, explosions, just everything, choreography.
It's going to be so much energy. And we're also going to be talking about a song right now, a country which is bringing a lot of energy on the stage. We're talking about Ukraine. This right here, Stefania, this is, as we talked about with Albania, it's a moment. This is going to be, of course, getting, as it should be, the biggest ovation out of any songs this year. It's going to get so much respect, and it's so wonderful to see Ukraine being able to go to the Eurovision Song Contest with this. It's really important, and the song itself, even if we don't consider everything that's going on in the world, I think would also be one of the sure qualifiers this year. This is one of the winning contenders of the year, and I can't wait to see it on that stage.
Well, it's like what you said, you know, even without everything that's actually happening, you know, with it, it's still good anyway. Like, it would still do well in any year. So if it wins, I'll be happy with that, because I love it. And there's something about the live performance as well that just gives me goosebumps. Like, it's just got like this winner feeling, I think. So yeah, if it wins, I'll be happy, but it's definitely going through, we know that at least.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think it's also the feeling of this song winning is already there just by the fact that they're able to perform this and share this. It's going to be remembered, I feel like, long past my lifetime. It's going to be talked about for generations. And I think this is, no matter the result, the most important moment of the year. And wow, it is emotional talking about it. And we're also going to be, you know, talking about emotions here in the next one. We're talking about the Netherlands, who we think are for sure going through. S10 bringing an amazing song. And if the commentators explain the story when we have the postcard, this could potentially also maybe win this semi-final.
Yeah, I didn't think about that actually, because I thought about, oh, Ukraine could win the semi-final, or I don't know, Norway could be up there. But yeah, the Netherlands, that could be a contender as well. Not just the semi-final, but the final as well, to get like top 10, top 5. I love it. I can't wait for the staging. We don't actually know what it will be like yet, but I hope they've got something good planned, because the song is just so like atmospheric, dramatic, kind of like dark, but just really nice. I love it.
Same here. I think it's, you know, fantastic entry. And I also think with this semi-final, where there's so much chaos, you could say, in what we're getting, this is going to be one of the also most emotional songs there. So it's going to be really able to capture your attention. I think it would have maybe a more difficult time in the second one of being like one of the winning contenders of the semi. But here I think that it's in discussion, because this is going to get a lot of respect from the public and from the jury. And we're staying on things we have to respect. We're staying on something which we've been talking about, winning contenders. Let's add another winning contender of the whole contest into the mix. What a year we have right now when Amanda Tenfjord is representing Greece, and she is going to be on that stage, and we think she's also going to be at the final stage. Why do you think that?
I just think it's just guaranteed that she'll be in the final, because all the ballads that we've got, you know, like female ballads as well, it does stand out, especially because you've got that a cappella moment at the start, like with just no background noise at all, just her. Like, I don't think there's anything else like that at all this year in the contest like that. So it's just that quiet, you know, atmospheric moment. And I know this is like a semi-final video, but we can talk about winner potential as well. And I think it does have winner potential for the final, maybe even to win the first semi-final. So yeah, it's definitely up there, contender.
Absolutely. I feel like there's so many, you know, ballads this year. It's such a crowded field of ballads, both male and female ballads, where I feel like this is by far like the strongest. And I don't know that there's more, you know, there's other songs that are more appealing, where we're going to, you know, in the second semi-final, we have Sweden, for example, which might have a really broad appeal for people. But when it comes to Greece, I think it's going to have such a strong appeal with a certain market, which is going to be voting for it. So even if more people might enjoy a different ballad, I think this is the ballad that would get the most people to take up their phone and use the Eurovision app that you need to download right now, because you don't want to do it during the evening. You just want to be able to vote right away, get a fun message from the artist, download the app. We're not sponsored, but please sponsor us, Eurovision, because we want to go to Greece next year after they win the whole thing.
Yeah.
And she is,
cool.
She will be amazing. And she is Norwegian, so it's only right that we go from someone who's from Norway to someone who's representing Norway but are from outer space, out of this world. We're talking about Subwoofer. This right here, I know I feel like I'm a broken record talking about the winning contenders and everything like that, but I feel like there hasn't been, at least like, as someone from Norway, there hasn't been this feeling for an entry since Alexander Rybak with Fairy Tale.
Really?
There has never been this high amount of hype before. I've never experienced that. And it's so cool to see. They're on all platforms. They're played everywhere. We are ready to show the world Subwoofer. But why do you think the world is ready for Subwoofer?
I mean, like you say, I could talk about this for ages, like a broken record again. it's just so like in your face, but in a good way. And you know, people at home are going to absolutely love it. And people already love it. Like the UK, they've got a lot of fans in the UK. You know, it was actually, I think it was played on the radio like a few weeks ago by Rylan Clark, and he's a big fan of Subwoofer. But yeah, I mean, it's just everything about it is so happy and just adorable and kind of like crazy, but in a good way. Like you just don't think about it too much. You just take it for what it is and just accept it and just have fun with it. And I do have fun with it because I love it. And yeah, it's definitely going through.
Yeah, I think this, yeah, it's like it's absolutely going through. And as you talked about there with Rylan, you know, he also knows how to do the dance. He knows how to do the dance, and it's also, you know, yes, we've been teach the dance, but for those who haven't been teach the dance, there's still going to be moves here that you're able to do at home, and you're like, okay, what's going on? I love it. So I think people are going to be like really getting into it, and it's one of those songs that people are going to be voting for, and I do think the jury won't be able to sabotage it, because I do think the jury themselves also will see like the musical quality it brings. So I don't think it will win the jury in this semi, but I do think there's this could, you know, win the whole thing in terms of the whole televote, even in the final. So I do think it could win the televote here as well, and it's going to be so massive on stage. They really talked about, okay, how can we make this the best possible live performance, and if they're able to put the Eurovision to life, then Eurovision will never be the same again.
I agree. And can I just say as well, being a fan from Norway for you must be so cool, because Norway is like one of my favorite countries in Eurovision. They've got so many good songs throughout the years, and this is like another completely different but another iconic song from Norway. So this is why I love Norway in Eurovision, because they always give you something different every year, but so good.
Amazing to hear. And I've been backing the UK. Of course, this year we just didn't give a little shout out to another winning contender. What an open and fun year. Like I feel like we have maybe like you could 3 or 4 you can argue for. Here we've basically been maybe arguing for the whole squad so far, but the UK also with the space man is
good.
Man. Thank you so much. I'm applying to be the backup singer for Sam Ryder. He hasn't reached back, but I guess it's just because he is a bit nervous to talk to me about it, but I'm ready, Sam Ryder. And it's so cool to, you know, to hear also about, you know, with the diversity of the countries here, and you know what you're into, because with some of the actors also talking about this is feeling of you don't know what to expect, but especially with Norway this year, I think nobody, not even myself, expected that we would be getting some you know, some bananas to save the grandmas. It's wild, it's wonderful, and it's bringing the party, just like the next entry, which we have on our list of we think you're going through, but we're also questioning it. We're going to be talking about Austria, and then we are going to be, you know, saying, okay, what do we think about this song? Because we do think it's going through, but why isn't it for certain?
I think this whole pre-party thing, everyone is just like talking about like, oh, you know, can she do it live? Can she actually pull it off live? And yeah, I think that is kind of like a problem, you know, something to be a bit concerned about, because it's so hard to sing it live. But it is quite a big fan favorite, and if they can bring it to life on stage, like really bring the party atmosphere, then I think it could go through. But it just depends how she actually sings it live, unless they try and like hide the vocals and, you know, use some vocal effects, if they're even allowed to do that. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, you can't help but be like a little bit worried, but at the same time you feel like it should be in the final. But yeah, it is hard.
Yeah, it's difficult. I feel like, you know, we both agreed right away that this is going through, but it's also the more we, you know, talked about it, it was like, okay, is this actually borderline going through? Because I think that there's a lot of things you can do to like maybe amplify and make the vocals more be able to stand out in this kind of song. There's a lot of use of backing vocals, and also of course like the pre-recorded stuff you can do, and you can use like certain effects for a short period of time. But I think that the song quality itself will push it through, and if they're able to create the staging we're hoping for, which will be different from what we've seen at the pre-parties, because that's been kind of generic. It's been fun, but it's been like, okay, it's a DJ acting like he's pushing some buttons. I want to see more. But this is an experienced artist who has billions of plays around the world with the Lumix. So I'm really wondering how they will be able to do it, because I do think there's a really great team backing them, and Austria is usually really good at staging. So I do think it's going through, and if they're able to nail the vocals, it would be a top contender. But it's just, we need to be certain of that, and that hasn't really been proven yet so far. Which is why it's kind of like, could somebody else take its place?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if it is going well, it could be even better than we think. But then we just don't know that yet, because we're just waiting for the actual, well, rehearsals, first of all, and just to hear the actual live performance. And before that, you can't really say that much. But I'm positive, but it's that back of the mind thought that you've got, like, it could be a problem, but hopefully not.
We're crossing our fingers, and we're also crossing our fingers for the next ones. They're one of my favorites this year. I said when this song came out, it was my favorite Eurovision song since 2018. I am standing by it. Of course, there came another song also we might be talking about later on, which is above it, but we're talking about Moldova. We are talking about taking this train, and we're going to be taking it all over Europe. The hype train is real in certain parts, and I feel like that can really benefit it, because there's a lot of people putting it like at the bottom of their lists, but then there's also, if it's like an equal amount, putting it really, really high. So, and we know Moldova usually like does a lot better than we expect when it comes to also like when they do the staging, the presentation they're able to do at Eurovision always seems to elevate it. And these guys are known for having some of the best shows in Eurovision history. Like, they've had the drumming grandma who went up and spinned around, and that's how we started the journey with Moldova and Eurovision. And now they're here, and hopefully they're also going to the final.
Yeah, I agree. You know, especially with what you said about the whole staging thing. Like, Moldova, that's what they do. They entertain with this staging every single year. Even 2018, like, they came along with that really creative, you know, 6 people on the stage, that dance routine that nobody expected. And that just elevated the song, and they got top 10. So it's just what Moldova do. They always put on a really good show. So I think they could do it again this year. And that's what kind of makes me think it will just end up going through, because people will just love it so much. But then, you know, again, it is like a borderline qualifier, I think. So you can't guarantee it will go through, but I do think it could.
Yeah, and
I hope.
Talked about the song "My Lucky Day," which ended up in 10th place. A lot of people said this would be the last place of the whole Eurovision, and nobody talked about it. And even also with like the Sunstroke project the year before, people were like, "Oh, this was a bit disappointing as a return." And many are deeming it based on like the stagings in Moldova, and especially this year, what we got was an audition, and people are like, "Okay, this is horrible." But when you get Moldova on the big stage with a great production, and they're able to put the money behind it, it's like, that's where you go all in. You don't need to do it at national final. You need to do it at Eurovision. And I do think we will be seeing Moldova high. I even picture them being in the top 5 of this semi. But it's still, you know, very open for everything that can happen. And we do have a few more songs to talk about, because we have a song. Speaking of surprises, a lot of people were surprised last year with Portugal. That made it to the final, did a great result. How do you think Portugal will do this year? Because we do see it qualifying, but what?
I think the reason why I'm hopeful it will go through is because those vocals, like the harmonies they've all got together, that's what makes the song really good, is listening to those harmonies, and they all worked so well together. So that's why I'm kind of hoping that that will be appreciated by juries and hopefully the public as well. So that's why I hope it will go through. But again, I've still got that kind of doubt in my mind as well, that it might not. But for me personally, it is a qualifier for me. If it was up to me, it would be.
And I feel like it's difficult with the semi because we also have Iceland in the mix also, but there's something about Portugal and the respect you need to also put on what they're sending. And yes, they've sent more experimental entries in the past that have flopped and not done well, but also when they try to do things differently, it usually also gives them this good result. And I think this year will also be the same. I think it's the right semi-final for it to be able to succeed. And I do think it's one of those safe countries to put in your top ranking if you're a jury member who wants to be looked at as a credible source for music expertise. So I think it's like safe to put a country like Portugal there. And it's going to be really different. And it's also right after Moldova has performed. So it's going to be really crash of musical styles, but I think it will play to both of their strengths.
Yeah, I do kind of wish that it was in the other semi-finals. I think it would be more easier for them to get through if it was in the semi-final too, because this is, way more tough and competitive. So it's a shame that it's in the tougher semi-final, but yeah, I hope it goes through.
Yeah, it's like when it look at like the second semi-finals, like there's a lot of things that could maybe also be a bit similar to Portugal, but also it's this semi-final, is so strong. We've been talking about winning contenders for 6 of the songs, so it's
yeah,
it's super strong. It's maybe the strongest semi-final I ever can remember. Anything can happen there, and I hope to also see Portugal go through, but it's going to be sad no matter what, but with who's not going through. But a country we think is going through, which I am very glad to see that we think is going through, is Latvia. With Eat Your Salad, it's Zēni, and they are second in this semi-final. Many think that's the spot of death. That's like when you don't qualify. But I can't remember the last time someone in second didn't qualify. This right here is a moment. I think that there's going to be also a bit leaning on how Austria will do, because if Austria was, a bit safer and maybe a bit stronger, maybe a lot of votes would go towards them instead of Latvia. But now I think they're going to be a bit more even. And I think Latvia will get a strong support, especially from countries like Norway, who will be voting for it, which has been a hit in Norway. And it's been a hit all around the world. And I think that will help and make a audience that has maybe never voted before in Eurovision now do it, because we need to save the salad song. We need to save the veggies and the pussy. So we have Zēni here.
And the grandmas.
Yeah, and you met Zēni, so go to them to tell them that you picture them going to the final.
Didn't get a chance to do that, but I would like to meet them again. I think with this, the great thing about it is them, like as people, the group together, like their personalities and their charisma. That's what makes it so good, and the performance as well. They perform it really well. I think the problem is the juries. Will they just like completely hate it and have it like right at the bottom, which means it won't go through because it won't be enough? But I think the public will love it. So I am kind of like worried about what the juries will do to them. But I hope they go through. I mean, being second after Albania, I don't think that matters that much in the semi-final. Like, I think that's not a problem. So I'd love them to get through, and I hope they do. I just hope the juries appreciate them. Hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the thing with this song is that they really need to get a super strong public backing, because the jury is most likely, I picture this being like, I think we could be like maybe a 12th place with the jury. I think they were giving it a certain amount of respect, but it's also like, if you want to be looked at as like a critical thinker when it comes to music, it's like, hey, would I give this 12 points? So it's going to also be a bit sabotaged by that. But I do think, because it has such a strong musical quality as well, that certain countries here will back it. I can see Denmark backing it, and I can see the Norwegian jury backing it. So I think it will go through. And I also think maybe this is like a 5th, maybe a 4th place even with the public for this semifinal, which would make it have to go through. If it ends up being like a 7th or 8th place, then it's goodbye to Latvia, but hopefully that won't be the case. And I do think, as you talked about with them as a group and a unit, I think they are the ones who benefited the absolute most from doing the pre-parties and the press tour, because I know there's a lot of people who instantly were not fans of the song, who were against it after listening to the first 10 seconds, who, because of seeing how they are as people, now one of their favorites. So that means a lot.
Yeah, that worked for me. I'm one of those people. Like, it worked for me as well. If I could vote in semi-final 1, I could, but I can't, which is a shame, because I would like to vote for Latvia. So hopefully, if you could vote on my behalf, anyone watching, then vote for Latvia, because I can't.
That's the thing. That if you're watching this video, you have to do it. That's the thing. This channel is the Eat Your Salad channel, and if you are not voting for them, then Eurovision will never be fun again. But something which would be fun to see go through is our final pick that we've agreed on, which is Lithuania. Now, this right here is also interesting, because we've now said that the first 3 songs are going through. And I do think in this case, that can happen. They are so varied, and the producers have made such a strong start. And I do think Lithuania, especially also coming from last year's success in the year before also, that a lot of people have their eyes open for them. And you never know what to expect from Lithuania. It can be a beautiful song on a bridge about when we're old, or it can be about the Sentimentai and going to outer space.
But also, you mentioned the pre-parties for Latvia as, like, benefiting them. I think it's the same for Monika as well, because I think the pre-parties for her, she's been really good as well. And the song, for me, it's grown on me quite a lot after seeing it live at the pre-parties. So there is quite a lot of support for her in the fandom itself. I don't know about, outside the bubbles, what the public will think of it, but there is a part of me that thinks that it could be enough to go through, but maybe not do that well in the final, but maybe like just about go through.
Yeah, I really feel the same here in terms of, I see this being in a kind of like, it's going to be like a hard battle to get to the final for Lithuania. But I do think, because of how great she is as a performer and how incredible the song is, it's going to be really stand out. So I also feel like, yes, it's not going to go super high in this final. I do think it'd be at around 20th place maybe, but just seeing it at the final is going to be giving something to a lot of people who might not get something else in terms of music they like in this final. So hopefully it will be able to be pushed through. But we also had some acts which I felt was absolutely going through, and you felt were absolutely going through, which we really didn't agree on. So we'll give a quick shout out to those. Like, for me, I feel like Switzerland, it's never talked about. We never talk about Switzerland, but because of how they've done the past couple of years, I think that will also benefit them in terms of their perception from the jury, and also the perception from the public, where it's like, okay, well, this name is now solidified with being in the top 5. This right here needs to go high. Now, wait a minute. They went 6th place last year, maybe. This is a scandal. They are not going through. No, they might be going through, but I forgot the spot they were in. But with Switzerland, I feel the song is very beautiful. And I think if they're able to do the staging as well as they have done in the past couple of years, it can really elevate it. And I would say it would get the spot for Lithuania instead.
You know, when I think of it now, I think you could actually be right. Like you could be proven right with that, because I find the song forgettable, like in itself. But like you say, the staging, if they can bring that storytelling across in some way, which they probably could, then it could be enough to go through. I just think because there's no love for it at all in the fandom, like nobody likes it at all, that kind of makes you think it won't. But then you need to remember other people watching as well that might like it. So yeah, I can see you being right in the end, and I could be wrong with that. But it's just the fact who, you know, which place could it take? Like you say, maybe Lithuania. It could take Lithuania's place. Yeah. See, now I think of it more, I think the staging could really save it if they've got a good staging. If not, then definitely not going through. But we'll see.
It's true. If it's you know, if the staging is boring and it puts people to sleep, it's like, okay, this won't do it. But I would maybe even argue that out of all the ballads this semi, that it's the clearest one in what it's about and its story. Where I feel like you know, Greece and Netherlands have really, you know, incredibly touching stories, and Switzerland does as well. So I think that it can really get its audience. And I see it like borderline making it. I see it being like maybe an 8th or 9th place with the public. But you had also a country which I would have liked to see take one of the spots from someone else in this, in who we said will qualify to the final, and that was Denmark.
Yeah, I'm still kind of like not sure. But I think because it stands out so well as that only rock song in that semi-final, like you've got Finland in the other semi-final, and there's nothing like Denmark around it in semi-final 1. And so that does kind of make me think it will stand out. And the performance in the national final was really good, like lots of energy. It was like a really big stadium performance. And if they can pull it off again, then maybe it'll be enough to go through. So I'm thinking, even though people in this bubble don't really like it that much, you know, just not talking about it, like, it doesn't mean that it won't go through on the night of the semi-final. So I think it's one to kind of think about and kind of like keep in mind, but it's still not like absolutely guaranteed. I think it's still borderline, but it could happen.
Which country do you think it would take the spot from?
Switzerland, definitely. Maybe Lithuania.
Maybe SOE. Kind of have the same here, like
it's
with
so
this.
hard.
Yeah. As you said, also, you know, we do have, of course, you know, Bulgaria in the first semi-final, but that's not as energetic style of rock as this one.
Yeah.
And it's something about, I think Bulgaria does a great job when they come together, but the energy that Reddi gives each other when they're on stage together is unmatched. I feel like it is like it's them and Latvia who really has this energy, which I think will translate really well. So hopefully, I just hope that there won't be like a jury that screws chances. So to now, let's look over our list here. So who we've said will be going through is Albania, Ukraine, the Netherlands, Greece, Norway, Austria, Moldova, Portugal, Latvia, and then we have Lithuania, Switzerland, and Denmark kind of like as borderline qualifiers, where we went with Lithuania there at the end. So that's like our predictions for this semi-final. Do you overall think that we will have the winner in the semi-final?
I think that there's actually a few of the potential winners that are in the semi-final. Like you've got Greece, which we think could win, and you've got Ukraine as well. they're both in the semi-final, and they're both being predicted as a potential winner. So then you've got semi-final 2, you've got Sweden. So it's a bit of a mix. You've got the big 5 as well. You've got some winners in the big 5. So I think semi-final 1 is definitely the stronger semi-final, I think. And then semi-final 2 is more kind of like all over the place and just more open. But this is really tough. I mean, the fact we've got so many borderlines, so many question marks, just shows that not even we know, like nobody knows for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like this semi-final here is Eurovision perfection in a way. It's showing all styles and genres and music expressions, and it's so cool to see them unite on this stage. And it's so sad to think about some of our big favorites not going through. Like there's many great songs from this semi that I haven't even talked about. Like Croatia hasn't even been mentioned, and it's like it's sad because in different years maybe they could, maybe they also could if they went to the other semi. But I do think there's a high chance that we will see one of the winners coming from semi-final, even if you also have an extremely strong big 5 with France and UK and Spain as really like the standouts. But Italy is also a standout, and it's just Germany kind of like chilling, but they're still winning because they're in the final. But you know, that's what we think about the first semi-final. Let us know what you think down in the comments, and until we speak again, have a great day, a great life, and please remember to take care of yourself and each other, and subscribe to LauraVision right now.
Oh.
Take care.
I as well. Bye.
Thank you. Yeah.